So as soon as you start loading it, usually we suggest you actually hold the weight down straight. You can either hold the weight down straight, or you can do a little bit of a reach with it, but eventually you're gonna have to hold the weight a little bit closer as the weight's heavier. So those are the two different positions you can do when you hold weight. So I'm gonna teach you how to do a 45-degree hip extension. And this technique I teach you is gonna apply to all variations. So the first and most important thing is just getting the height of this correctly. Your goal is to have this when you're on here with straight legs, to have the pad in a position where your hip bones are not gonna get caught and hung up as you go down. So as I go down, I should have plenty of room between my hip bone and this pad. And you wanna have enough pelvis support, but not so much to where those hip bones get stuck. That's number one. Some people, males especially, we're gonna be a little more sensitive. Our groin is gonna be a little more sensitive in this position. So sometimes you can take an Airex pad if you find that you're just uncomfortable in your groin area. You can put an Airex pad right here, and that will actually help with this. In fact, I'll get one right now just to show you.
One.
So I got my pad. So for some people it's very, very uncomfortable. And the first thing, if it's uncomfortable in your groin area, you might want to adjust the pad up or down. But if that's not solving the trick, using an Airex pad here, that will usually fix it. And that fixes it perfectly. I don't need it though, I'll throw that out. So as far as the technique goes, we usually recommend that you throw a dumbbell or something down to touch. It could be a cone or whatever. And the reason we like that is this will force you, when you go down, instead of rounding your back, going down like this, a lot of people do it this way. This forces you to go more like this. It forces you to reach. When you do a little bit of reach, what happens is that keeps your upper spine, your thoracic spine more straight. And when your thoracic spine is more straight, your lumbar spine also, you have to move kind of more through a pattern like this. It's really coupled, so your thoracic spine is coupled to your lumbar spine, and it forces you to hinge from the hips as opposed to hinging from the spine. And the reason we want to avoid rounding our back on this exercise, when you round your back, you're more likely to either create a problem, a disc problem, or if you have a disc problem, it's going to feed it and make it worse. So we really recommend this technique, once again, where you're hinging from the hip. Now your hamstring becomes more involved, and you're training the low back muscles isometrically. And the farther you have to reach out, usually the more it forces you to kind of pivot. Your chin should be tucked, just more neutral in this position. And you should be pausing at the top. And another thing, you don't want to come all the way up, you're just trying to come up into a straight line.